Hello, hello. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit of time for those of you who are wanting to hop on today for this live. So I'm going to talk about really quickly, not too long, but I just wanted to dive into this question a little bit because I've heard it a few times, which is just this wondering, like, I'm trying to meet this partner. I feel like maybe I'm too picky or my standards are too high because I'm not meeting him. You know, I'm meeting all these guys and like none of them are up to my standard and like what's going on? And maybe you've heard like little whisperings from someone like, oh, like maybe you're too picky or maybe your standard is too high. And I want to come on and talk about that. Like, what is that true? And what does that mean? So I can't tell you the number of times that women come to me and they tell me like, you know, I know exactly what I want. I have this whole list. I'm clear about these things. And then they've heard or wonder like, maybe I'm too picky. Maybe my standards are too high since I haven't met him yet. And I wonder if maybe I'm asking for too much. Do I need to lower my standards? Like, is it a pickiness issue? Like, I don't think so, but now I'm questioning myself, you know, and I don't want to settle. I'd rather be alone than with the wrong person. And then they're curious what I have to say about that. So that's what I want to share with you today. So as you're hopping on, just say hi so I know who's here. Hello, hello. So usually when I hear this and then I dig in like with a client on this, we actually find that they end up needing to actually raise their standards even more. So usually it is never like, oh no, your standards are too high. It's actually like, there's more things to raise. So we end up like they're more picky than they were when they came to me, and it's not a problem. Okay, it's like actually not a problem. So let's talk about this. So for you women who have high standards and you think maybe they're too high or your other people have told you or you're got some judgment about it, and you know you don't want to settle, right? But you find yourself sometimes settling with a guy or convincing yourself out of your standards sometimes, or you're just questioning yourself right now. The first thing I want to say is like, we don't do that here. Like, no, there's no need to. Your standards are not too high. You are not too picky, right? You get to have what you want. You get to have exactly what you want. But it's not just that you get what you want. You also get to have what actually makes you happy, right? And so there may be a difference between that because sometimes we don't necessarily know exactly what that is that we want until we start doing a little bit of like exploration, right? But I would say your standards are not too high, right? So I guess you're here because you're one of my people, which means you're like a high achiever, you're ambitious, you're successful, you're probably a bit of a perfectionist, and you've had the thought, am I too picky, right? And so if you've heard this before from other people, like you're too picky or your standards are too high, the first thing I want to say is that what I've experienced is that this can come from really well-meaning people who love us, who want so much for us to be happy and in a partnership. But oftentimes this advice is just a misunderstanding on their end, like an attempt to try to protect you because they may be afraid that you're not going to find what you want and that that's going to hurt you. And they just want you to be happy and they want you to have what you want. They think that that's a relationship. And so the suggestion is, well, you know, maybe you should just lower your standards, right? Or you should just be less picky. The second reason that sometimes you can hear this is that maybe this person is actually settled themselves. And so if you're refusing to settle, there's like a subconscious level at which they start to question their choices and if they're even consciously aware of that, right? But they have to confront the fact that maybe they settled, right? And that can feel very threatening to that person, which could be why they're saying, you know, maybe you should settle. So that could also be the case, right? Because if you were not to settle and you go find that guy, that's kind of a threat to somebody who is in some ways maybe knows at a deeper level that they did kind of settle, right? So if you do what they did, then they can feel like they made the right decision, right? And so you can get pulled into the bubble of like, oh, this is what it is, and that's that, like that's where it's coming from, right? And sometimes people who love us, like they aren't necessarily the best people to help us on our path to finding love, right? Because if you look at the relationship that they have, is it the relationship that you would want? How happy are they with their partner? How much do they really feel like they did make the right choice? And this is nuanced because maybe it is that they settled, or maybe it is that they don't know how to have that happy, thriving, nourishing relationship with a man, and he's actually not the wrong man. And that's a whole nother conversation, right? There can be other layers to this as well. So probably you don't want to marry, let's say, like your sister's husband. So taking her advice on how to choose a person is not necessarily the smartest advice. You want to look at how happy she is in her relationship. Does she have everything that you would want, right? The same with your mom or another friend who maybe has settled. You have to think for yourself, like, is this what I want? Because if you're following their advice, you're going to end up in a similar situation, right? And so maybe you know that that's not what you want. So if you're a woman who wonders if you are too picky because you haven't found him yet, or if something is maybe wrong with you, maybe you've experienced that the ones who you like don't seem to like you back, or you're just getting started dating because you've been so focused on building an incredible life, building an incredible career, right? And up to this point, and now you're ready to find that man, and you're really committed to finding that person who you can have that deep intimacy with on a different level than, let's say, like your girlfriends who you adore, but you don't have that same level of the emotional intimacy and the romance and the physical intimacy, right, that you would have with a partner. And this is something that you deeply crave. So sometimes it's easy when we're so focused on our career and other things in our life are working so well, and it's been so long maybe since we've had really what we want in terms of love and romance, right, that we can actually forget what that feels like. So I'm looking at you, if you're like a super high power career woman, and now you're like, maybe I want this relationship, but like my life is so great, like the relationship would have to match that. And I want to tell you that that's perfect and that's amazing, and you get to have that. So if you are a woman who is done with just not meeting the right guy, maybe endless texting, maybe guys who just aren't showing up for you at the level that you really want, you don't want to be on dating apps forever just messaging guys and meeting no one, and you're really, really ready to finally call in your dream man, I am inviting you to message me to book a time to get on a call and let's chat about working together in my one-on-one. Some of the things that we do in my one-on-one, we're looking at blind spots. What's causing whatever you're currently experiencing with men? Is there something there? Are there any limiting beliefs, old stories, wounds that need to be just looked at and maybe cleared? I help you really show up as the irresistible woman, that magnetic woman that you already are, to the right man for you, so he can see you, be drawn to you. It's effortless. We tweak your online dating profile. We look at what do we need to do so you can really speak to the exact man that you're wanting to call in. Literally, he kind of appears out of the woodwork as a result of this. You suddenly like see an up level in the quality of men who are showing up in your inbox, how quickly they're asking you out. My clients have gone from like absolutely no one that they were interested in to like 4 dates with different guys, 5 dates, calls with men who are all quality, high caliber men they're looking for, literally all in the same week. And this happens so quickly. They're just you're saying they're not on the apps, and they are on the apps. It may be that is the issue. We're looking at your interactions with men, like where are you leaking power? Where is your feminine magnetism at, which is really just you embodying you, right? And your high value. How do you embody that more so men start to see you, and the right man for you starts to see you in a way he may not have before, as this worthy, special, high-value woman that you really already are. So sometimes this goes to your self-worth, your self-love, your feminine queen magnetism, all of that power on a whole nother level. And then understanding men, this is a huge piece as well. And this sets you apart from literally every other woman, because you know exactly what he needs and why he's doing what he's doing. And you actually can bring out the best in him and the best in you, right? And you're not settling. You get to create something so incredible, because men and women are not the same. And it is so important that we understand these things. So if you're feeling the pull, the draw to work with me, if you're feeling that hell yes in your body and in your soul, then reach out to me. And I cannot wait to connect with you and support you in your journey to finding your dream partner. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, loves.